Well, hey, everybody. What is going on? Paul Turner here from the discipleproject.net, here with another office hours for you today. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes here, wait for everybody to kind of jump in. But if you don't know who I am, my name is Paul Turner from the discipleproject.net, like I said, and I focus on discipleship. I focus on youth ministry practices that I think help build successful youth ministries, and that is what I focus on as a ministry to youth pastors. Been doing this for now a little over 30 years. I am currently a part-time youth pastor, and I live in the Birmingham, Alabama area. And so, if as you're jumping in here, if you have questions for the show today, please go ahead and put them in the you can put them in the comments down below if you're watching later, or you can put it in the chat, and hopefully I'll get to those questions as I go along. But yeah, if you're brand new here, you've never been here before, first of all, thank you for participating today, jumping on, whether you're watching live or you're watching later. Would love for you to be a part of the channel here, so be sure to go ahead and click all the things that you need to click, the subscribe button, but clearly you want to do that, right? Don't forget also hit the like button, and don't forget that little bell notification, because you'll know when I go live, because I go live every Wednesday morning for prayer at 8 a.m. And I also go live at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays as well. So yeah, both prayer and office hours is on Wednesday, because it's Wednesday right now. So anyway, yeah, be sure to go ahead and click all the things, and you'll get information and so forth. Lots of videos. Just went over 1,000 videos. There's 1,000 videos on this channel, and so I hope that you will check it out. If you want more youth ministry resources, well, you can go to the discipleproject.net. Lots of things over there. You get access to my podcast. You can get articles. There's over 1,200 youth ministry articles there that I've done over on my blog. There's a newsletter. I'll put a link down to that in the doobly-doo down there. You can check that out if you want resources in your inbox on a weekly basis, and that's everything from videos to free resources to Bible lessons to articles, all the things. I try to do all the research for you, and that way you have the free time to be able to not do that research. And so, yeah, I'm gonna put it down there. You can subscribe if you like. Would love for you to be a part of it, and you'll get that kind of information in your inbox. All right. So as we move on, like I said, as you're coming in, you can leave questions there in the comments there, and would love to hear your questions. But I'm going to start off by answering the first question. And the first question that I have today is, and it's a common question, is how many hours should a part-time youth pastor work? Now, I'm a part-time youth pastor, so I can answer that question. And really, it's really based upon the negotiation you have with the church or with the pastor or whoever's doing the hiring process. And so if they're saying, look, on standard, if a 40-hour week is, full-time, it's more than that if you're a full-time youth pastor, let's be honest. It's more like 70 hours, or 60 hours, depending on, what events are going on or what things you have, what the church is required, how big is your church, all those kind of things. So I think you have to be able to negotiate your regular life, that's, you, your family, the other job you may have, and then be able to negotiate that against what the church is expecting. So I would say, depending on the size of the church, if you have a small church, if you have 100 members, I'd say 10 to 15 hours a week. It's, you don't have, unless they're requiring you to be at a ton of other meetings, which I don't see that happening in a small church per se. The bigger the church, well, then you're going to get, more hours and probably be full-time, unless you're an intern or something like that. But in a bigger church, if you're a big church, why don't you have, if you have 500 members or more, you probably should have a full-time youth pastor, because if you're going by the 10% rule, then you would have 50 kids in your ministry, or you're trying to build on that or whatever that may be. So I would say, first of all, to you that are pastors that are listening, don't hire a part-time youth pastor to do a full-time job, because it's not going to work out the way you think it's going to work out. I would say if you're going to hire a part-time, if you're a small church, then part-time works that way. If you're a bigger church and you want to be able to hire a youth pastor, well, hire them full-time then. They're worth that. And because I think too, like for me, 10 hours a week is suitable for our size church because I'm there on Sundays, right? You have Sundays and Wednesdays, whatever the midweek is. And then any work that I do from home, which, I don't see too many part-time youth pastors having to be in the office for various reasons. And I don't know if I see that much reason for full-time youth pastors to be in the office unless they're there for meetings or things of that nature. So, yeah. So if you're doing, you got your 3 hours on, Sunday, and maybe your 2 to 3 hours on Wednesday. So that's 5. That's half your hours. And the other 5 hours you're spending maybe having lunch with a student, creating graphics, planning calendar, and you can be able to look at that and say, hey, I'm going to, justify that and be able to say, hey, I can, put that in the mix and make that, my 10 hours. And once again, I think you have to negotiate. I think you have to negotiate with your church and say, hey, what are you expecting me to do? Now, I have a little graphic here. Let me see if I get this plugged in. I would actually like to use my microphone if that's possible. Yeah, so I have a little graphic here. So you can, let me offer you this little menu. I call it Youth Ministry a la carte. And Youth Ministry a la carte says, well, if you want me, because here's why, and I put this together, you say, Paul, this is silly. Yeah, it's a little silly, but, going to kids' ball games, that'd be $50 a game, please. Okay. Actually listen to boring sermons. That'll be $75. If you want me to pay attention, you're going to have to pay me for my attention. That's $75. If you want me to be able to say, great job, and listen to what you said, $75 on a Sunday morning. Staff meetings. Well, that's going to be $125 because usually staff meetings are not the greatest. So I'm going to charge you $125 to have me there because you're probably going to waste my time. Events, right? $150. So if you want me to do a youth event, well, that's going to be $150. Then dealing with parents. Part-time youth pastors dealing with parents. It's $250 a parent. Okay, If I'm dealing with a mom and a dad, it's $500 total. If I'm dealing with a mom or a dad, then that's $250. Okay, and then a lock-in. If you want me to do a lock-in, that's $1,000. That's $1,000 per child. You say, Paul, that's silly. Why would you put that? You know what's silly? Silly is, if you think this is silly, then paying a youth pastor part-time salary to do a full-time job is silly. That's ridiculous. You think this is ludicrous? It's ludicrous to pay a youth pastor to cheapen their calling and cheapen what you're asking them to do is silliness. And so I put this up here because I think part-time youth pastors, if you're listening to this, that you have to be able to judge. Listen, I know if you're young, you really want to get into it. You really want to get into the ministry. You really want to get into doing something. And you're willing to bite on these opportunities. And the problem is that you're going to be asked to do more maybe than what you're going to be comfortable doing. And really, it's a setup for potential failure because eventually you're going to lose steam. They're not going to, churches are looking to pay you something, to limit their budget, to pay you something, and try to squeeze the most out of you. And because you're passionate, you're going to do it until you realize that what they're paying you and what they're asking you for is not quite on the level. So I would encourage you that a negotiation probably needs to happen between you and whoever's you're thinking about, working for. Is what is part-time? How many hours is that? And what do you see that including? It's okay to ask to be specific. It's okay to ask. And it's okay, by the way, to be willing to say no and walk away and say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this amount of work for that amount of pay. You would, there's all kinds of jobs out there that you could do, work for yourself, all kinds of things. But we lowball our calling and our youth and being involved in youth ministry simply to get our foot in the door and those kind of things. I'm saying, no, don't do that. You wouldn't do it in a lot of other jobs. I would say don't do it in a youth ministry job as well. Because you're going to have to negotiate that and should negotiate that. So, all right. So that is question number 1. Question number 2. Once again, if you have other questions, feel free to leave them in the chat over there or leave them in comments later. So, question number 2 is we are looking to serve more parents through social media, through websites. What are some things that you would include to help serve parents? And so I would make sure that you have, whether it's on your website or on your or you're doing a photos on your Instagram of book recommendations. You may not be able to do a lot necessarily for parents because they're busy and they're looking for those quick things that they can do to be able to be empowered to help parent their kids, to disciple their kids. And so I would say put out a list of books. I would do top 10 books, and then I would roll that out. Like I said, on your website, links to Amazon, to Amazon, maybe make a few dollars for your youth ministry if you're an Amazon affiliate, and be able to recommend these 10 books and then, add to it or swap books out for better books. Or, you could offer, small groups based on a book somewhere, on your in social or other places. Why not have random meetups and say, hey, we're going to talk about chapter 1 of this book we've recommended, and here's our times. And that you as a youth pastor then can say, hey, we're gonna meet, find the location of where a lot of your parents work if there's a cluster of them, and say, well, there's a Starbucks there, how about we meet for lunch and I just kind of share a few ideas and a few thoughts from the book that we're reading, right? Or it's just a meetup, a lunch meetup amongst parents. So you just kind of put it out this, hey, I'm going to be at so and so, I'm going to be at Panera or Starbucks or some fast food restaurant or somewhere near there, and use your budget to do lunches and just say, hey, I'm going to do some meetups. So I'd put scheduled meetups. You can call them small groups, but small groups has the connotation of this. We're going to spend a lot of time going in depth into the Bible and so forth, versus saying we're just going to meet up for lunch. That's a small group. If you have 3 parents show up, well, that's a small group. If you meet for lunch once a week or once a month, well, that's still a good small group because you're saying this is what we're going to do, and it's available to them. You're providing the resource. Now, whether parents take advantage of those resources, you can say these resources here are available. Did you read any of the books? Have you been to any of our lunches? Have you? And new people, especially, can look at it and say, wow, they're offering something to parents. Another thing you do is website suggestions, maybe YouTube channels, the church's YouTube channel, that if you're the youth pastor, you can create videos, or somebody in your can do a whole family series and create content, or do live things where you're out on the street, just doing a quick little shout out for parents. So yeah, if you do websites, like I said, YouTube channels, those kind of things will be helpful. Other Instagram channels that may be interested in. Another thing is you can put on there, once again, social, website, all the places, print, family devotions. You could have you as a youth pastor could write family devotions, and all you would have to do is take your whatever you taught at youth and break it down into 3 devotions, or take the same message you did and just put it up there and say, hey, here's a family devotion. There's 10 questions. Maybe you don't have, maybe you're just speaking. Maybe you're just, it's a preaching message, but you could always take that content and turn it into a devotion that parents can share with their kids, right? It's not something that they read separately. It's something they read in the car on the way to school, on their drive to vacation, wherever they're driving to sporting events. You can, make it audio. Why not make it downloadable where it's something you listen in the car? Um, hey there, ministry coach. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Yeah, just doing. I do this every Wednesday. Get on here, do office hours, and so appreciate Ministry Coach. You want to go ahead and follow Ministry Coach. Has great videos. I've included their videos quite often in my newsletter. So I'll put their videos in there and send it out to my folks because it's good content, folks. So yeah, be sure to check out Ministry Coach and all the videos that they have over there. But yeah, as far as once again, ministry resources for parents are always there. I mean, if you have a social media calendar, for lack of a better term, that you say, look, I know we're going to put all this out on the website. We're going to put it on social. We're going to do these things. And yeah, you have to prepare those. That's just part of it. That's just part of youth ministry, is not just prepping youth, but actually ministering to parents. Another thing is, like I said, family devotions. I would make an appointment, right? Why not have an open standing, like either on your website, have one of those things where you could leave a voice message, or a Calendly where a parent could say, hey, I would love to have an appointment, right? And I know that youth pastors get nervous about appointments because we're usually in trouble for something. Why do I have an appointment? I have to ask, what is this about? What is this concerning? I don't know if I want to have an appointment with you. But yes, have an appointment so that a new parent who comes to your website or sees you on social, hey, I would love to have a 5-minute conversation. Sure, let's do it over Zoom. Let's do it through other means. There's everything's on the table. And you say, I would love to have a conversation with you about your youth ministry. Well, why not have parents block time on Calendly and say, hey, here's this time I would love to just talk about the youth ministry, and then you need to have obviously a prepared something that you would go over with new parents, or you create a new parent and say, hey, we're doing it on this date, all new parents can join the Zoom, or something like that. So also you want to be able to have something where you ask a question and just address it to parents and say, hey parents, do you have a question, and let them be able to submit that question through the website, or it's a Instagram post, or it's a YouTube video, and you're putting it out there. Parents, what questions do you have about the youth ministry? What questions do you have about raising teenagers? What questions do you have about this or that? Now, listen, if you're a young person and you don't have teenagers, that's okay. You can still come up and be able to consult and say, look, I don't know the answer to this question. Talk to your volunteers that do have kids. Talk to people in your church that have kids. Hey, I got this question. Interview them. Do a small little interview on Instagram. Say, hey, I got this question. What can you join me? Can you come on camera with me and say, what's your idea of this? Now, of course, you want to vet that, because you don't want to just pop right out. You don't know what they're going to say. You want to check what they're going to say, because you want to make sure it's going to be good, because it's going on your social and it's going on, everywhere. So you want to make sure that have prepared things like that, where you say, look, I want to be able to share with parents who have questions about the youth ministry, or about raising teenagers, or about cultural things, whatever that is. You have lots of opportunities to do that. And so, yeah, I would say, look, you have lots of opportunities to minister to parents. Like I said, through social, through your website, through whatever channels you may have. Just take advantage of them. Not just preparing content, but doing stuff on the fly, especially. Once again, half the time, or 3/4 of the time, parents are only hearing from youth pastors when there's an event. And there's more that youth pastors can do, because if you don't want to be the event guy or girl, and you want to be able to build respect, and you want to be able to build reputation, and you want to be able to build those things to be taken seriously, well, then address more parent things. Don't hide in the youth ministry. Talk to parents. And you will be, and you're once you start doing good parent ministry, parents will get to know you, begin to trust you, begin to like you, and that begins to go up from there. So yes, that is what I say. I say do all the things. Lots of ideas there. All right. So last but not least, we're in that transition phase of people moving up, high school going to college, middle school going to high school, elementary going into middle school. And I think this applies for whoever group is moving up. But this particular question is, what can I do to equip middle school students to make the jump to high school successfully? And I think there's several things here. So let me offer just a few ideas here. Number one, I think there has to be clear distinctions and expectations. That what makes children's church different from middle school in your youth ministry and middle school different from high school. I think there has to be a distinction amongst those things, because if one thing is the same, in other words, if it's just come to a meeting, come to a meeting, come to a meeting, then all they've done from the time they were in kids church to the time they went to college was come to a meeting, come to a meeting, come to a meeting, and it was all the same. So I think there needs to be a clear distinction. What makes middle school different from your kids' church? What makes high school different from middle school? And what makes your college group different from your high school group? So here's some thoughts I have in that. And I think not only does there need to be a difference, a clear difference that you can be able to share, is and demonstrate and point out, is that there has to be different expectations. The expectations that you had in kids' church are one thing. The expectations that we have of you as a youth ministry or as leaders are different for you in middle school, as it is for your teachers, as it is for your own parents, probably, that the expectations are different. So why not go along with it and say, hey, we have different expectations here in middle school, and we have different expectations moving up to high school. So let me offer just a few ways to kind of roll that out. I would do, if you want to equip them, middle schools, to be successful, I would do like a 1-day retreat where you can be able to talk with parents. This could be a family day where a parent comes with it. It can be done where it's just the students. But once again, just talking about parents, what a day you could have to have a parent come along on a Saturday morning, have a breakfast with a parent and a student who is coming into middle school, and doing this kind of 1-day retreat, or just a breakfast, whatever that may be, mom, dad, both, however you want to do it. And then you're going to tell them what are the differences between kids' church and middle school, and you don't have to run all the meetings unless you're the sole youth pastor and that's what you have to do. You could do those times, stagger those times, or you can put them all together. But yeah, if you have, you can, if you do the 1-day retreat idea, well, then you're going to share with them what are the distinctions and what are the expectations. What is the difference? And then you're going to say, here's how we as a youth ministry are going to help you. Here's the resources we've provided. And then here is the resources we're providing to help your young person succeed, right? And so these are all the things that are available to you. I would say also you could have a video series of this, right? And it's not just the meeting. The meeting's good, but if they ever need to go back and review, or if you need to share it, I would update a yearly video if it changes, of course. But also, backgrounds, other things that you can do. Do a video series on expectations, or leveling up, or next level, or whatever you want to call that. Call it something to give it a little bit of jazziness to it. And then you can be able to say, okay, here's the video series. Okay. You can do a social series as well. It could be Instagram. It could be 30 seconds. It could be a minute. Whatever you choose to do. It could be on YouTube. Could be whatever. And not very long, but you're going to break it down into distinctions and expectations. And then for high school, middle schoolers that are going into high school, why not give, you could give them journals. You give middle schoolers journals to kind of, draw. They don't have to write anything, but you could do, week 1 or their first year, to have them kind of guide their way through their first year. You could make a custom journal with custom questions, that says, hey, friends I've made, the question is, what friends have I made this week? Or, what am I learning? Not just from the messages, but what am I learning about being in middle school? What am I learning about, and asking these key questions to give your students an opportunity to write it down. It's not something you're checking on. It's just something that you're giving to them as a resource. You can also, have high schoolers that are seniors, juniors, be middle school mentors that will be able to allow, they're going to help them at least walk them through their first 6 months. I mean, at least ask that of them and say, here's the difference. just like when you go to a college campus, there are either there's students there that are probably juniors that are, talking to parents that are doing the college tours and all that. Well, those people have responsibilities. They've done 2 years and now they're giving back and saying, hey, here's the system. Here's what, these walkthroughs and these things at college that they go through. Well, they're done by students most of the time. And so I don't understand why a high school student can't do that. You find the most mature one that you can, or the most mature ones that you can, and say, would you walk through these with this year, go over events with them, expectations, how to get the most out of high school group, where can I help you on your journey? And this becomes a really good discipleship type moment. And so, walking through the calendar with them, which you would do with parents as well. Once again, you got to have high schoolers kind of do that as well, just because, they're not, the middle schoolers aren't going to be as excited if you're telling them, or if their parents are telling them. They're going to be more excited if a high school student takes interest in them, guys with guys, girls with girls, and saying, hey, I want you to come along on this. I want to make sure you're going to be able to go, because I think that if you want to get the most out of being a part of this youth ministry and of your relationship with God, then these are the key things that you're going to want to be a part of. Another thing I would do is roles and responsibilities. In other words, give these kids a job. Give these middle school students something to do. And if you have to create something, then create something. Or if you have something made, say, okay, we have a council of some kind. Well, great. We're going to be choosing some of these students that are coming in to be on the council. We don't know which one they're going to be. We're going to talk with the high school students, talk to the council, and who needs to be on that. We also need help in video. We need help in taking the offering. Roles and responsibilities, right? Because if the worst thing you could do is tell a kid to come into here and just sit there and be quiet and do nothing and fold their hands. So having roles and responsibilities that are conducive to them, simple things they could do, that's one way you make the distinction. Is look here at this level, at middle school level, we're giving you roles and responsibilities. We're giving you these things that we're asking you to do. And if you make that a normal part, that's your culture. You're creating a culture here. Okay. Then what are opportunities, right? These are opportunities to create versus consume. If all you want to do is create consumers, well, then just tell them to sit there, shut up, and listen to what you're saying. If you want to create creators, then give them more opportunities to add value to your youth meeting, to serve, to be a part of the worship band, to help read scripture. Simple things that middle school, we're not asking them to get up and preach, although they could if you wanted to. There's lots of things that they can do. And if you're interested, I do have roles and responsibilities. I'm going to put a link down below there that if you want to see my whole list of roles and responsibilities that I think students can do, well, there'll be a link down there. Just subscribe to the newsletter and you can get that for yourself. And yeah, that's it. That's the deal. If you want to equip middle schoolers to make the jump to high school successfully, I think those are the keys: clear and distinct expectations, having your high school participate in the journey with them, roles and responsibilities, and then creating more opportunities for them to add value to what is happening. And that's it, guys. That is today's office hours. I hope that I brought you tremendous value today. And if I did, well, be sure to go ahead and click the subscribe button, like I said earlier, or you can head over to several things you can do. You can head over to, my website there and find all the resources that I offer there. You can also go to my store, which is, gumroad.com/youthmenresources, and you can find all kinds of resources over there, lessons, it comes with slides, event packages, all those kind of things. So you're welcome to check that out as well. So, but that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much. If you have questions you want me to answer on the next office hours, be happy to do so. So go ahead and leave your comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next office hours. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great youth meeting tonight. Bye-bye.